Away from the line of scrimmage. Gerald Dixon. And make his ass quit. That's our trade.
Good evening and a good Monday night to you. Welcome to another edition of the Opening Kick. Man, we got a very special guest with us tonight, as you can see below me. And I'm also going to introduce the rock star to my left, right, whichever way that is. I'm left-handed and dyslexic. But before we do that, we got to pay a little bills and give a little thank you to the people that make this possible. And that's one, Limestone Company. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Well, don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Limestone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all your project needs. Limestone is located in Aniana, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most trusted stone sources in the state. So contact them today and tell them we sent you with the promo code the Bama Standard, and you will get 10% off your stone purchase. It's a pretty good deal on a stone purchase if you build a big old house like Mr. Siskey has. Also, before we get that, you'll notice tonight I'm wearing my Merman shirt, who has an assorted drinks. They are celebrating my 3-0 picks in last week's show. So again, Chubbies, if you want to get associated with the winner, because we can't all be like Mr. Siskey and have rain knocking down our door. Some of us got to go out and get these sponsors. So Chubbies, associate with the winner who will rock your sweet ass designs. And with that said, I can't wait any longer. To my, again, is that left or right? I don't know. We got the man, former All-SEC DB, former Buffalo Bill, CBS analyst. I think he may have worked with the man below us, Gerald Smoke Dixon. How are you doing on this Monday?
Man, I am doing so well. But, I mean, once you introduced and said all that and gave all the accolades, everybody knew it was you talking about Tyler. I'm just a guy that's spelling it.
Well, without further ado, unless you live on an ostrich farm and don't have the interwebs, you might not know who this guy is. Otherwise, you see him all over the interwebs with some of the best stories in college football from his days coaching at Ole Miss, his days coaching at Alabama, and actually all over the South. Man needs no introductions. Tyler Siskey, what's up, my man?
How we living? I mean, we got my guy. I mean, got my guys on here. Got Smoke. Like, I mean, I'm digging the. I mean, I know Smoke's all fired up because the Bills are playing well. He's got his hat on. We're ready to roll, man. Let's do this thing.
Let's get to it.
Let's freaking do this. Hit that like and subscribe, but let's jump right in. Again, unless you're living on an ostrich farm, you know things are not going good in the state of Florida for two of the major programs. Heck, I think the battle of I-4 is going to decide who the second best team in the state is this year. If they still do that, is UCF and USF still get it on at the end?
FAMU is the best team in Northern Florida.
FAMU. But with that said, man, unless you're living under a rock, there's two things that are very, very evident or obvious right now. One is Billy Napier is not going to be the coach of the Florida Gators at the end of the year unless something crazy happens. And two, everybody's throughout the media world is it's throwing the name out, Lane Kiffin. Is he going to be the next guy? But that's not my question. Everybody's going to throw that out. I hate it for Ole Miss fans. They're in the middle of what's going to be one of the best seasons in their program history. They're going to have to hear this shit every week as Florida loses. But my question is this, Tyler. You know, I feel like everybody still hadn't completely adjusted to this NIL era and the fact that ceilings for certain programs may have changed and other programs may be getting left behind. But you see programs like Florida State that are they the same programs in this new era that can just go out and pluck a Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss like they could have 5-10 years ago?
Yeah, I think fans in general are kind of holding on to what used to be. And when I say what used to be, it wasn't that long ago. We're talking about 5 years ago, right? I mean, things have changed. Landscapes changed that fast. And, when it comes to the Kiffin talk and all that, it's so early. I have one question is why? I haven't had one person give me the answer to this question yet. Why? Why would he do that? And, it's not about Florida's not going to be able to pay him any more money than Ole Miss is. All right. And when it comes to NIL money, I mean, you're talking about Ole Miss is probably operating on almost a double budget than what Florida has working with in NIL. Right. And, my thing is this, and then Smoke's going to know where I'm going with this because Smoke's been in the business and he sees it kind of the same way I do. I've always said this about Florida. I see all the rumors, everybody talking about, the boosters have gotten the money together to buy out Billy Napier, which is $26 million. Well, if that's the case, I got a great idea. Where the hell you been the last few years when we're trying to raise money for NIL? If you got $26 million to buy somebody out, how about giving him $26 million to go buy some players?
Or maybe 10 of it. Or just 10.
Yeah, split the difference. I mean, just give him a little bit. But if you want to go win, hiring a new coach isn't the answer. Paying $26 million, just to get rid of the head coach is not the answer. You need to go buy players, because like I know Billy. I've worked with Billy. You know, we were at Alabama together. Billy's a good coach. Okay, I don't care what kind of coach you are. If you don't have players, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to say this on this show, and people are going, but we've like got this like selective amnesia. Okay, like we don't remember things. You know, there's a guy that just had a field named after him a week ago. Okay, in Tuscaloosa. He started his career at Alabama going 6-6, losing to Monroe. Do y'all really think he got smarter between year 1 and 2, or did he get better players?
I'm gonna go with answer B. Better players.
Like, so what are we even talking about? It drives me nuts. Everybody's like, the answer is to fire coaches. See, here I think a little bit differently, right? And I'm an outside the box guy. If I was an AD, so let's take Billy's case, right? So I don't know how many years he's got left on his contract. You make him coach that contract. The buyout goes down every year. You treat it like baseball, okay? You treat it like Major League Baseball. If you got $26 million to buy a coach out, and that's before you go get the new coach, and that's before you raise NIL, and that's before you pay the new coach's buyout. So that we're just starting at $26 million. And if
not even cut you off, Tyler, you have to pay the entire staff.
Yeah, that's another $3 million. It's another $3 million. So you're at 29 to get rid of that staff, okay? And then that's not counting the new coach. That's not counting his buyout. All right, so you're going to be paying all those coaches. And let's not talk about revenue sharing. If this court case goes through, that's another $26 million you're starting with. So it's a $61+ million decision. I got a great idea. For all you guys have been hiding in the weeds when we were asking for money to buy players, and all of a sudden you came out, you let him coach the deal. You take that $26 million, go let him buy some players. All right. Did Norvell become all of a sudden a bad coach in the last 3 games, or the players different?
The quarterback's not playing up to par, and he didn't pay the right one.
Didn't pay the right ones. And it was the guy who got that field name after him had that saying a couple weeks ago too. You better pay the right ones.
Yeah.
You better pay the right ones.
Yeah.
And and they didn't, right? And get your ass fired. But that's my whole deal. If you watch Florida, and everybody's going to blame it on the quarterback and all that stuff, hell, they got a lot more problems than quarterback. They can't they can't fit the run. They can't. I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense, and so there's a lot more problems than the quarterback situation. And so it's about players, man. And it's a players' league, and it does. I mean, and Smoke knows I'm not outing nobody. I'm not going to do that. But there's a lot of coaches that have rosters that are paid for and are winning a lot of games. Right. There's a lot of coaches that are really, really good football coaches that aren't getting to pay players that are losing a lot of games.
Right.
And so it's a fundraising contest. That's what we've made the sport.
It's a who can get their salary cap in the right space and pay the right players the right amount to keep this thing rolling. And the only reason why I would push back a little bit of saying let Billy finish out this contract, and hypothetically I get what you're saying and it makes sense, but when you cut on the film, like these guys have lost their edge. Yeah, they're not playing as hard just because they also have social media. They're also reading the clippings. And when you hear that your coach is going to get fired and there's no buy-in and there's no NIL and the boosters can't put together the right amount to even if they wanted to fire the guy today, they still haven't got the money raised yet. Because if they did and they want to get rid of him, they would have walked to his office tomorrow and say, here goes the 26, just like they did Jimbo Fisher, and say, all right, it's time to go. We got to start it off new. But they haven't put that together. So as much as we all think that Florida is an upper echelon program, when Urban and Steve Spurrier was there, and even when McElwain was there, yes, before the NIL era came in. But right now, they can't raise the amount of money in their collective to pay for a proper roster. And I think we all need to look at that and say Florida's not the Florida that we think it is. Florida's not operating on the same level of Ohio State, LSU, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, even Missouri. They ain't up there.
I mean, they're not even – what do you say? I bet they're not even top 40 probably.
No way.
But people don't realize that, right? But going back to your first point, if you watch Florida play, when they give up the lead early, you could just see the they just don't have the belief, the way that, because they've been beat down so hard, they can't fight adversity.
Nope.
But going back to the Kiffin thing, right? And I told somebody on the TikTok live today, I brought this up. All right. Is we get this fandom thing and Florida fans like, hey, you know, Florida's, they think this 5 years ago, 15 years ago. And in Smoke, you know this, if you asked 100 coaches 6-7 years ago, hey, what's a better job, the Ole Miss job or the Florida job? 100 out of 100 coaches would have said Florida.
In a heartbeat. I'm gone.
Me included. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And the model has changed, and you got to change with a model. And if you don't adapt, you die. Okay. And what coach in America, like you look at Lane, look at Eli, it doesn't matter. Look at both of them. Okay. Because those are two names you're hearing, right? Already. And then the job's not even open. What coaching them? Why would they leave? They're at a place that those people will pay them whatever they're on the verge of building statues. They will damn near do anything that you ask for. They're going to pay you as much money. Why would a coach go, I got a great idea. I want to go to Florida because 20 years ago they won a national championship. They can't pay me as much money. And oh, by the way, before Billy Napier, they fired 3 coaches that took them to the SEC championship the year before, and they fired them the next year. Oh, that's a job that I want. And I mean, why? Why? I've said that, and I'm just going to continue to say it because I'm almost tired of talking about it, and it's just September. Is when somebody can give me a good reason why that person would do that, I'll shut the hell up. Like
how about this, Siskey? I'll give you some bad reasons, and let's play out some scenarios. You and I both know if we're both general managers and say Florida hired both of us, and we got to go there. Right now, you know you got to go and poach players off of other teams. You got to get your roster up to speed to be able to play with. That's
illegal, Smoke. You can't do that.
Man, everybody's doing it. You know that's going to happen. So the coach, say you hypothetically you bring in Lane Kiffin. Yeah, Lane's going to have to take the salary of what his players are currently getting at Ole Miss and transfer that amount over to now Florida salary cap. And does Florida have that? We're going to say no. Then you're going to have to go out and go get some headliners to play for you with your quarterback in high school and out of the portal. Can you do that? No. So you're going to have to pay Lane 120. 120. Plus that salary cap's going to have to be close to 15 to 20. Just to even start talking.
To start with.
Yeah, to start talking. So unless you're ready to pony up $150 million in terms of investment, you might want to leave those 2 names alone and go to a MAC level coach or another Sun Belt because you got to come strong with this one.
Well, you're getting 2 kind of coaches, right? And they got to know this when they make decisions. You're going to get 2 kind of coaches. You're either you're going to get somebody that's in their late 50s and they're looking for the last check, and then you can fire me whenever, and I'm going to the beach. You can get that guy, or you're going to get
Brian Kelly.
You're going to get somebody like Alex at South Florida that's looking for a first big check. Okay,
Eager Beaver.
Eager Beaver, ready to go. But you're not getting an established head coach at a contender. You know what I mean? And let's talk about this real quick. And this is the last thing we're going to say about the Kiffin thing. This is another thing. How about can we have a little? Because I'm vice president of the Common Sense Party. I didn't know if y'all knew that or not.
I'm a PhD.
I hope you're going to bring up that the first names for 2 coaches there that could possibly be in the damn playoffs, and you're going to have to wait.
So let's talk about time. Let's talk about time frame here.
Yeah.
Do we really think? Because I mean, is there anybody going to argue with me right now that Ole Miss is probably going to be in the playoffs?
I'll argue if Ole Miss is going to win the SEC.
No,
I'm just saying that's a strong possibility that they do.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're in agreement. They're probably going to be in the playoffs.
Good shot.
Agreed.
Okay, great shot, right?
Great shot.
Do we really think that Lane Kiffin's going to leave Ole Miss in the middle of the playoff run to go to be the head coach at Florida? Because signing day is the first Wednesday in December. Oh, and then there's a thing called the portal. That's probably going to be the only window is going to be open. Oh, and then I'm going to leave the team that I just took to the playoffs where I'm not going to coach them in the playoffs because the first game's the weekend of December 20th. And if they win a game, next game is going to be January 1st. Do we really think Florida is going to not have a head coach through the first signing day and through the first 20 days of the portal window being open?
You better.
Woo!
You better.
Why can't we just have common sense on this thing and stop getting clickbait?
Where's logic? And look, man, you've also got a program. We haven't even discussed the fact that there have some NIL lawsuit possibilities with the Jalen Rashada deal. Like there's
that ain't gonna happen.
That's gonna get thrown out as faster than I ate that Wingstop today.
Yeah, that's
as long as those wings did on my plate tonight.
But Siskey, here's the thing, Siskey. So somebody goes to Florida. There's only truly maybe 3 players on that Florida roster that you're fighting for: the quarterback and 88, the defensive tackle Banks. And Wilson. Sorry, Wilson. This is the third.
Okay.
Other than that, you got to go get a new offensive line. You got to go 8 defensive linemen, and you got to go get 5 playmakers.
Hey, how much those cost, Smoke? Why don't you tell the people how much they cost?
Right now, we in the 10s.
Hey, already.
Because what people don't understand, they're going to say, well, DJ Lagway does not have to stay. And what he just showed you against Samford, he showed America that what you saw in high school is real in college.
Well, he's going
to be just like Aiden Childs. We're going to be going for a lot of money. So people are going to come and poach that. Soon as they say, I'm firing Billy, somebody's going to be knocking at the door. Not.
If they fire Billy in the middle of the season, within 30 minutes of him being announced he's fired, Lagway already been getting shopped.
Banks is gone. Wilson is gone. Done.
Yeah.
So whoever's coming in, you are starting from ground below zero.
They're not going to be there.
Okay. Well, so in 15 minutes, y'all have completely shattered every Florida fan's soul and letting them know that they're pretty much between Vanderbilt and South Carolina in the echelon of the SEC these days, which I think I've always thought they were 2 coaches in a myth. I mean, they weren't anything into the 90s. But
Petty, what you just said is reality. In the last 3 years, that's where they're stuck between Vanderbilt and whoever's there.
Yeah. No, that's who they are.
That's true.
And I hate that that's
true.
Florida, your Gatorade, some blue jean cutoffs, and some mullets, and some
Well, they say that fandom is short. Fan is short for fanatic. I'll argue with it's short for fantasy. I mean, they don't live in the real world. And look, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad job by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying the ones that you can't go pull somebody that's in a really comfortable bed for that job right now. And now look, I'm going to tell you this too. I'm going to be a realist, and I know there's some Ole Miss fans out there. I mean, maybe looking at one right now. Okay, his name's going to get floated, and he's not going to shut it down because he's got an agent that's doing a job, and he's going to get and the longer that interest is in the job, the price tag goes up. And you know what? I don't blame him.
Oh, no. Jimmy Sexton lights up anytime it's like, it's Christmas.
He's loving it. I wouldn't be surprised. Jimmy's probably floating half of it, right? I mean, Jimmy's the one he's got. I mean, look, that's what they do. And that's
his job.
That's their job. And he's worth, let me tell you something. Jimmy is charges 3%. Jimmy's worth a hell of a lot more than 3%. I'm just letting you know. He's worth 10.
Is there anybody better in this industry? I mean, he's got every coach in one league and pits them against each other constantly. It's freaking brilliant.
There's some really good ones out there, but that's like comparing a good football coach versus Nick Saban. There's one GOAT, right? I mean, and there's some really good ones out there, great ones. I mean, not great good ones, great ones. And but Jimmy's the best that's ever.
Jimmy's been doing it for so long that you're only looking at college. Yeah, he got NFL execs, coaches, and he's also head of CAA, which has the top players as well too. So you're running up on somebody that's sitting here just being a puppet master of the athletic world.
Yeah. Well, now I want to segue that. You're talking about being good, and you mentioned this guy earlier, Tyler, and I want to touch on it because I do think he's a good coach, and we kind of touched on Florida State a little bit. Is Florida State in the same boat as a program as Florida is?
No, I just think he missed in the portal. I mean, that's the risk, and Smoke knows this because of his past life too. Like when you go in the portal, right? There's different ways to do it. They hit last year, okay? They hit, and he hit on a lot of 1-year guys, okay? And so he went and he was up here. And when you're doing the 1-year portal thing, Look, everybody misses. Okay, everybody. I don't care. The greatest, the GOAT. Okay, the one who's got that field named after him. I got a sheet down there where he says Derrick Henry can't be a running back. Okay, I got a sheet down there where he says Minka Fitzpatrick's too slow. Okay, so the GOATs, everybody misses. Okay, and they'll tell you about their hits. They won't tell you about their misses. All right, but when you're having to replace elite production. Okay.
First round, second round.
First rounds. I mean, yeah, all these first round guys, right? When you got to replace that, you can't do that every year.
No.
Okay. Why is Florida State in the problem that they're in right now? Because they got outbid on Cam Ward. That's problem number one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
also missed on the tampering portal with Jackson Dart.
What's that?
Didn't they also miss in the tampering portal with Jackson Dart?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty well sourced, by the way. I know his.
Really?
Well, I know Jackson Dart's agent. I'm related.
Well, the only reason I say that is I've heard Neil mention it a time or two.
I'm related to his agent. I'm pretty up.
I'm not arguing. I'm not going to argue this one now.
Yeah,
and Tyler,
from my sources.
And Tyler, to tell you the truth, I don't know if they got outbid on Cam Ward. They chose to go with DJ. The general manager at Florida State, where'd he come from? Oregon State. So he sold them on a ticket that I wouldn't have bought.
Yeah, but on the flip side, didn't Oregon State coach go to Michigan State and take the freshman with him and not DJ?
So that's what. So you're answering the world's easiest question. If the coach that left Oregon State didn't take the starting quarterback with him, the experienced guy, why would you then want to touch him? Anybody. And it's not the kid's fault. I've said this over and over again. I don't blame DJU for being who DJU is. He got to Clemson, same numbers. Year 1, year 2. He goes out to Oregon State, same numbers. He comes to Florida State, I'm telling you, same guy. So if you're hoping and praying, oh my, it ain't happening. The guy is what he is.
Too late now, boss.
It's over. And you had an opportunity to pony up. If they would have said, we're paying Cam Ward $6 million, Cam's at Florida State.
That's the whole point, right? It's like, I don't care if you got a guy at quarterback. Let me tell you what position you better pay. It's just like the NFL, guys. Just like the NFL. Okay.
The trigger man.
You can have 21. Like, here's the thing about college football. You can have 21 great players. If you got a shitty quarterback, guess what? You're going to be shitty. And you can have 21 shitty players. But if you got an elite quarterback, you got a chance.
Ask Auburn about Cam. What did Cam do?
Yeah. I mean, like Auburn is Auburn right now because it went Peyton Thorne and some freshman. What does Auburn look like if they got a freaking real quarterback with all those young receivers? Like, what are we even talking about? Like, it blows my mind. Like, it blows my mind how people don't process that. Like, you go, hey, you know what? That Cam Ward guy, he's just like Peyton Thorne. No, the hell he's not.
No, they play the same position, but not the same way.
Yeah, that's as close as you get. They play the same position. That's
not the same way, though. So you know
wear the same jersey number, I think.
There it is. You know who's going to be probably the ACC Coach of the Year? The guy that couldn't coach himself out of a win. Coach himself out of a loss. But what makes him look good? Cam. Cam makes everybody's problem go away. You haven't heard an itch about how Mario Cristobal is finishing games because he's put in the right hand of the quarterback. Say, hey, listen, go out there and just please help me out.
He ain't got to finish the games yet. They've been over in the third quarter.
That's a great point. And look, man, I know I'm more armchair than you guys, but Cristobal did some stuff that I thought was unforgivable last year and then doubled down on it in the press conference. Not unforgivable, but just told me, man, this dude's stuck in like 1985. But
I don't remember it.
Now you got a quarterback. It don't matter. They're beating the hell out of everybody.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you who was the head coach of Miami beat Nebraska.
And when? 85?
The last national championship.
It wasn't Snellenberger, then it was probably Jimmy.
Nope. I'm talking about the Ed Reed edition with Ken Dorsey.
Coker.
There you go. See how long it took us all? No one cared. Because Miami was so good it didn't matter who the heck was the coach. So it don't matter who the coach is if you have players.
And that's what
I
always
said that. Didn't Saban say I wasn't real good at – oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, I'm just saying, just to follow what Smoke's saying is like, like people don't realize this, okay? There's 133 head coaches in college football, okay? You don't get to be a head coach if you suck at your job, okay? You don't get those jobs, okay? You got to be pretty damn good at getting those jobs. The different, and then everybody wants to fire people every 5 minutes and all that stuff. This guy sucks. I mean, there's people talking about like Florida State fans. Oh, we got to fire Norvell. Boss, he's 3 games into an 8-year contract. Ain't going nowhere. All right? So
he's a good coach.
Like if you can take literally, this is not a joke. And I've said this on another, I think I said this on another show y'all had. If I was a GM, okay, I will let you, Pettey, I'll let you pick the institution. Okay. You can give me as much money as the Saudi PIFs gave John Rahm to go play golf. Okay. Yeah. I will let you pick the institution. Give me $600 million. And not only will we win the national championship in football, I'm talking about Monroe, doesn't matter. You pick it. All right. Not only
you're a national power
in football, we'll win in every damn sport offered by the NCAA. I mean, it's a fundraising contest. It does not matter. And Pettey, you know this. AJ's on our show, right? On our show on Mondays. So I coached AJ, right? I'm a high school coach. I have my starting quarterback's a guy named AJ McCarron. My backup quarterback's a guy named Jake Coker. My starting running back was a kid named Ivan Matchett who signed at Alabama. My backup running back was a kid named Mark Barron, who was the 7th pick in the National Football League draft and was a pretty good player at Alabama. All right, then I had a receiver named Destin Hood, also signed at Alabama, but he was the 9th pick in the Major League Baseball draft. Okay, I could not call a bad play.
What time did you go home every night? You went home whenever you felt like.
Oh, it was, and so it was. This is not a joke, and this is back when we were, you know, this was like where pro style kind of met spreads were a little mixed. I got to the point, and I was like, you know what? I started designing plays that would so bastardize football. All right, so like. Because here was the problem. As a high school coach, the best adjustment I ever made as a high school coach. I started figuring out, like, if I came out and tried to scheme people up, they would try to make these halftime adjustments, and there's no telling what they would draw up, and it would be forever for us to get in trouble. I would literally design plays that I knew the defense had us beat on the board because I knew they wouldn't change. So, for example, I would run speed option, okay? And not block, take the receiver to the high point. I would not block the flat coverage player, the pitch man. I wouldn't block him. And so we'd pitch it out there to Mark Barron. Well, guess what? Mark's one-on-one with a guy that's supposed to tackle him. All right. He's going to miss 7 out of 10 times, and he's going to score touchdowns 7 out of 10 times. But the defensive coordinator I knew would not change because he's like, hell, I got the guy there. I don't know what else to do. Now, if I
why can't you make the tackle? What? Because you're playing against a better athlete.
Yeah.
Give it up.
I would take back when then we were running, you know, ISO was a big play back then, right? I would take, this is not a joke. I would take the front side guard center combo all the way back. And I would ISO the true Mike, and I would leave the play side backer in the hole because Ivan and Mark were going to run right through their ass 7 out of 10 times and go hit their head on the goalpost. Because I knew this. I'm not even joking. I knew that the defense coordinator wasn't going to adjust what they did. And so my guys were my X's were better than your O's. And so you couldn't call bad plays, the point I'm trying to make.
You said you're leaving it one-on-one. Well, hell, a lot of those one-on-ones with Mark Barron, I played high school football in 6A at Alabama. They're white dudes that weigh 200 pounds that run a 4.8. Yeah, that's not – you can leave that one-on-one all day, and it's going to make you look pretty good.
I mean,
So Siskey, anybody that was down in the Mobile area right now, they're going to come looking for you. Like, man, why are you telling the world that we sucked as coaches so much?
Yeah, I didn't. Well, it was actually the kind of like, I was like joking. I was like, guys, I know sounds crazy, but like, we're going to do this. And you know, like we played, like Destin Hood was so good. We played Williamson in the semifinals, right? And we played them at Ladd, and they were like Destin Hood is the best football player I have ever coached on any level. I wish he'd have come to Alabama. I mean, he would have been a top 5 pick, I think.
He was better than AJ.
Yeah, he's better. So he was a wide receiver DB. Mm-hmm. He was, he's 6'3", was 205, and was the fastest kid on the field every week. I mean, he's unbelievable receiver, unbelievable corner. So, but he was so good, and we played in Williamson, and Williamson played man free every snap of they played cat coverage every snap of every game they ever lined up in, right? And so we get to the semifinals, and they took the safety out of the middle of the field, and they were bracketing Destin. We go 3-by-1. So I said, we're going to break their will and make them quit. And AJ's like, what are you talking about? I rolled the pocket. This is how bastardized coaching. This is like, I should be fired for doing this. I rolled the pocket to the single receiver. There was one option on the play. And I told AJ, I told Destin, Destin, you got between 15 and 22 yards to put your foot in the ground. I said, you do whatever you got to do to work. I said, AJ, we half roll to the single receiver. I said, when he puts his foot in the ground, you put it on him. He goes, Coach, they're bracketing him. I said, I don't care. He'll be open. And then they double covered him, and we went right down the field, 2 consecutive drives to open the game, and they quit because they couldn't. They were trying, their best players were trying to bracket him, and we didn't have – that was the only option. There was no check downs. There was no nothing. It was one receiver routes, and they couldn't stop him, and then they quit. And so, when you got good players like that, I mean, hell, that was dumb coaching, but it was good players.
Man, you're the greatest coach of all time if you can do whatever you want with great players.
Ever.
I knew this was going to be a juicy topic. I figured it'd probably be the biggest one we talked about tonight. But I've got one more question. But before we get to it, man, I got to give a shout out to our man, Jimmy Clay, bringing the super chat, $29 for Team 29 RTR. Our man Jimmy Clay is not just a football fan. He loves him some Alabama softball. So I think that is an homage to the Alabama softball team 29. So roll Tide, Jimmy Clay, and appreciate that $29 super chat. Always making it rain here at the Bama Standard, my man. One more question before we move on, because I know we have stayed on this topic for a minute, but it's probably one of the biggest ones. We've talked about perception changes in the SEC. So let me ask you this, Tyler, and you can give your take on it too, Smoke. I want maybe one or two on each side. What one or two programs in this new NIL era have changed their stripes the most as far as what ceiling they can go to? And which two programs that were once probably historically pretty prominent that have fallen off?
Well, I think the two that have come alive the most is probably Ole Miss and Missouri. And you're seeing it on, Missouri's doing a little bit different than Ole Miss. Ole Miss is just raising money, right? They're just straight raising cash. Missouri has got friendly state NIL laws that have allowed them to become more relevant quicker, right? And that's the two, I guess, who I would say has kind of shown their stripes. The teams that I'm a little bit, I would say, more surprised with, as far as Florida. Obviously, we've beat that in the ground,
beat
right?
that horse to death.
That's an easy answer. I'm a little bit surprised that Arkansas, with the background that they haven't really come to play yet. And I think somebody tagged me in a video, the Hunter Yurchek today on Twitter, I saw, but that's kind of surprising a little bit because they got real money out there, like real money.
Yeah, money. Or Tyson, Walmart, you would think.
Well, yeah.
Back in my NIL days, big money.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jones. Jones.
Hey,
Jones.
Look, Smoke,
big money.
Smoke. Now, just as well as I do, but that no recruits ever got paid before NIL.
No.
That's all.
It was all above board.
Yeah, that's all rumors, right? I mean, I think people get confused and like telling stories, but yeah, before NIL, no players ever got paid.
Nah, never heard of it.
Never heard of it. But yeah, I'd probably say Arkansas is probably the biggest surprise, one of mine biggest surprises. And I'll tell you a sleeping giant out there, and everybody's gonna laugh at me. And it's not really the money as much as it is the administration. If in the new NIL era, if Vanderbilt decided to drop their admission standards to be like a normal other team, Vanderbilt will come play in a hurry too.
Yep.
It's the best. It's the best city in the league. Everybody would want to go there. The education's great. I mean, you would have no problem getting any player that you want to, but they have different admission standards than everybody else. So 99% of the players that you can recruit are off the board before you even go out, before you ever leave the building.
Correct my ignorance here, Tyler, because y'all are, and I know Smoke because he worked there. I thought Vanderbilt did have a program for athletes that wasn't as strenuous to get in. Am I way off base there?
They did. They did with
you get out of say old school numbers. Let's go old school numbers, Tyler. You get 25, right? That was our old school numbers.
Yep.
Now with Vanderbilt, you get 6 guys that you can handwrite letters in that the head football coach is going to be responsible for, and that's their provisionary rule. That the AD and the head coach signs off on, and you're responsible for those athletes for their duration until they get up to the academic standards of Vanderbilt. So working there, like, that was one of the things that the way that you looked at it was, I got to see what you are in terms of academics. I got to get your transcript. I used to take my paper to Andrew Kane and say, Andrew Kane, you got to tell me if I can recruit this kid. And Tyler, you're laughing, Tyler, because you was at Bama and Ole Miss said, man, if they can breathe and got a heartbeat, man, bring them in.
Hey, heartbeat. Well, I didn't worry about the grades. I was more worried about how big and fast they were, and we were good.
Right.
I didn't worry about grades.
I gotta go academics. You gotta go character because they gotta fit in because it's a different place, and you gotta say developmental growth. And then I gotta fight Stanford for the same kid, Georgia Tech for the same kid, Duke for the same kid, Northwestern for the same kid. So you're looking at finishing at the bottom of the end in terms of the academics, but you're also playing in the best conference of football in the SEC. So for me, when NIL first came out in the portal, I looked at Vanderbilt and was like, it's going to be a tough place to even sustain 5 wins. For Clark and what Barton doing over there, outstanding.
Yeah,
because the roster that we put together is crushed. They came in and started poaching. Like, give me that one, that one, that one, that one. Thanks for developing, guys. And I appreciate you guys for letting them play. But I'll take that one, and you can't pony up. But they can pony up because Vandy wasn't in the NIL market yet. They're in it now. And if they structure it properly with the businesses around Nashville and as much money as Vanderbilt has, you can get what you want. But it's a tough pill to swallow for most young people to understand that you're getting the best of both worlds. Because before it was NIL, it was all about what your facility looked like.
Nobody cares. Now, NFL, dog, nobody cares.
Man, they'll get dressed in a matchbox. As long as they got the NIL right, they're good.
As long as the comma's in the right place and there's enough zeros, they'll do whatever you want. It don't matter.
And it takes one right booster. I've heard what Mark Cuban's daughter's going there now, right? I've heard he has a little bit of interest, or maybe I just dreamed that up.
Now he does a little bit, but it's like but it goes back to the admission standards, right?
Yeah.
The
people get that kid in
that you want to pay can't get in.
Can't get in.
You know what I mean?
They only allow 800 in a year, bro.
Good gracious. Well, guys, we have killed this, and that's great answers. I think a lot of people giving them insight on where certain programs are and where they think they should be that maybe not. Because, again, I think a lot of people are stuck in 5-10 years ago. And we've seen, and this will transition in our next topic, more change in college football in the last 5 years than we have probably in the history combined. And Tyler, you've always got great insights on your shows. You've obviously got a finger on the pulse. Obviously, you're a little bit freaking connected. I've heard rumblings of fans getting worried that if they're getting left behind, the Mississippi States of the world, if Vanderbilts don't step up, if the next big conference realignment, if it goes to an NFL model, certain programs may get left out. That may be way off base with that change, but that may be it. Or is there something else that fans aren't even paying attention to that might slap them in the face? Because I don't think we're done yet with seeing changes in college football.
Well, I don't think the settlement's going through. Okay, I don't think at all. I think it's probably one of the biggest wastes of time in the history of college athletics, because they came up with a number that the players didn't agree to, and then they haven't even addressed this little federal law called Title IX. That's a small detail that they may want to address. So it's not going to go through. So that's going to change a little bit of everything. Look, at the end of the day, if this court case, which is set to go to court in January, if this court case goes through, it's going to bankrupt conferences. It's going to bankrupt the NCAA. We're talking about billions of dollars in penalties. And, at the end of the day, the move that's coming, the one that they're preparing for, I think that's why you're seeing a little of the conference realignment with the big boys slow down a little bit, is you're going to get a break. You're getting a break off. Okay. They're going to break off. I think it's going to be the Power Five plus a few. Okay. So teams like Liberty, teams like South Florida, teams like San Diego State that can afford it. And I think you're going to see basically you're going to have, the players are going to have to unionize. You're going to have to collective bargaining. You're going to have to run it like the National Football League, which is like everybody, the next thing everybody goes, oh man, here we go. Guys, we're there. We've been there. Okay. Everybody wanted to, pay the players, y'all screwed the players, all this stuff. Well, guys, look, that stuff comes with consequences. All right. And there's nothing wrong. I'm all for players being paid, but there has to be a cap. Okay. Like, and I say this and I keep saying it over and over. I think I've said this 800,000 times. Imagine a world that in the National Football Smoke, I think I said this on your show one time. Imagine a world that the NFL had unlimited free agency with no salary cap. That wouldn't work.
I can tell you a world that
Dallas would never lose.
It's in baseball, right?
Yeah.
And in baseball, you see what, 4 teams: Yankees, Boston, LA market, and that's it. Yeah. And everybody else, small market team in that league is doing this. The only one in the red. The only one that makes money, NFL. But what you're saying, Tyler, I agree with, which is going to be tough in college because everyone views this as players getting paid. But they're not looking at it as saying they're also students that you can't get rid of. So once you become an employee, and I've always said it, once they give me this answer, once you become an employee, I can fire you.
Yep.
How am I going to get rid of a college student when you're locked into school and an APR got to hit?
Yeah. So that's where I think that's where the collective bargaining comes in, right? I think it's going to be a sad day for college athletics when the education part gets taken out of this. But they've put at the same part, they want to be employees, right? No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, you don't. Stay right where you at. This is great. This is good times right now.
But you're at a point that it's not sustainable in the current model, right? So breaking off, and I think there's a way to collective bargain this, to be honest with, because I've thought about that too. I think what you have to come in a system where you collective bargain, where instead of having Jerry Jones as the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the athletic department is the owner of your team.
Right.
And you can still keep the academic standards that can all be collective bargain in. You still got to maintain some kind of academic standard. Because look, we can sit here and talk about this all we want to, and you can get paid. Not everybody's getting rich. Same thing with the NFL.
No. And everybody don't deserve to get money. It's like maybe 10 to 15 players in college on each team that truly deserve the money. But Siskey, with saying that, I remember you and I were sitting down, we're talking, we're just rambling through different scenarios. Okay, say Vanderbilt costs $80,000 each semester. That's $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
So for Vanderbilt grad, it's $320,000. So as an athlete, I would say, okay, you want to be an employee? Well, it's going to cost you $320,000 for you to go to school here and play. So how much of that money am I going to give you, and how much money are you going to give back to me? So to me, at the end of the day, there are players that should be fighting for this because they're the top 10 of your roster that's truly can brand themselves. And then you might have 25 other guys that should be getting something, but everybody else should just be happy with getting a fair and a good education that they can't afford outside of it.
100%. And people and fans in particular, they forget that there's value in the education, right? And everybody that says that has never paid for a child to go to college. So they you know what I'm saying? It's like, everybody that said they haven't paid for kids to go to college yet, right? But at the same, look, I'm all for them. I'm all for them getting paid. I really am. I get it. And then, the next complaint, well, coaches can leave when they want to. The difference is, and for me, and I've said this 100 years, the problem is not the players getting paid. Okay. That's not the problem. The problem is immediate eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If immediate eligibility, like I'm not joking when I say this now, it's so far in court cases and all that shit now. I could have this shit fixed over a lunch meeting.
Me and you. Yeah, we fixed that before.
And then and then we'll have 50 minutes to bullshit like this. We can come do the show for 50 minutes after the lunch meeting, right?
After fixing college football and doing
it, we can get on a pod and have time left for lunch.
Yeah.
But if you take away immediate eligibility and they have to sit out a year, okay, the prices would come down. It'll be affordable because you're not going to pay somebody $1 million to come transfer and sit on the bench. Okay,
there's some idiots that are doing that. Tyler, there's some people that are doing that. Don't give them that much credit.
You'll run them out of money in a hurry, and the market will come down drastically, right?
Correct.
And that would fix it. But at the end of the day, there's going to have to be a salary cap, which is going to have to be collective bargained. You're going to have a players union. Right now, there's like this. Y'all probably noticed them. Every players union is trying to start up a players union to try to be the official players union and all that. It's got to be collective bargained. It's got to be organized. But at the end of the day, and I'll say this, and we'll move on. If you don't have a commissioner of college football, we're all wasting time because the problem right now is, and look, I'm not faulting. I would do the same thing. But Greg Sankey is the best in the business. But Greg Sankey's out for the SEC. Okay? He doesn't give a shit about Big Ten.
Not his problem.
And the Big Ten people, they're out for the Big Ten. They don't give a shit about anybody else.
That's their problem.
And so you got the leaders of college football have a major bias of what agenda they're trying to push. And there's not one person. And until this happens, we are pissing uphill into the wind. Okay. Until this happens, somebody's got to go, hey, Greg, thank you. I appreciate your idea. Hey, Big Ten, thank you. I appreciate your idea. Hey, ACC, thank you. I appreciate your idea. But by God, this is what we're doing. Until you have somebody that's for the betterment of the sport in charge, we're just pissing in the wind.
Wasting a good amount of time.
Yep.
There you have it, man. And just those few minutes, Tyler Siskey told you he can fix college football and with smoke over a lunch, and then we can do a podcast. So
we've done this before, negotiating the contract. Yeah. We negotiated the contract and said, hey, listen, what about this, that? And it's like, listen, this is what it can be, but who's going to listen to two guys with hats on?
That's it.
Well, but being hosted by a guy with mermen on his shirt. So, but just know they're drinking because I'm a damn winner, chubbies, and you want to be associated with the winner. With that said, we have now fixed college football. Let's talk a little college football. There's kind of some big games coming up, Mr. Siskey. One with so much damn intrigue with Tennessee, number 6, going to Oklahoma. I think game day is going to be there. It's at 6:30 on ABC. Tennessee sitting at a 7-point favorite right now with an over-under of 58.5, which I think is actually kind of low. Maybe I'm crazy. But man, all the intrigue here. Heupel, former quarterback for Oklahoma, former assistant at Oklahoma, kind of left on bad blood with Stoops. Now he's, quietly built a freaking machine up in Knoxville. And you want to talk about in the NIL era, Tennessee's a program that fell off for a couple of decades and have gotten it together in the NIL era and could be the sleeping giant of the SEC again because they get that. You put that pilot on the field, they were way ahead of the game.
They got it right.
Hey, what they spend money on again, Smoke? Oh,
Nico.
And they got the best, maybe the high ceiling of any quarterback in college football in the last 5-6 years.
I'll tell you guys what, they got the best budget price on a quarterback for the number that he went for then, for what the current market is for his current play and his production.
Yep.
And they have structured their NIL salary cap personnel department so well to manage production, play, prospect, development. You don't hear any rumblings coming out of there, out of their high school players or the collegiate players, and everybody's just saying, "Where's go?" And when they first did that with Nico, everybody's saying, "Why would you do that with a quarterback?" And Heupel was sitting back saying, "Only if you guys knew."
Yeah,
I got a guy in front of him.
Shit now.
No. And he is sturdy. And you know what else they did? They built a defense. We'll get into that.
See, that's where people are paying attention is that front 7 right now.
Whoa.
Maybe it is nasty. So let's go there. What we've given all the hype, man. What Tennessee's a rolling ball of butcher knives. What are you going to say, Siskey, about that defense?
Well, first of all, I like the under in this game. I like under 58.5. Oklahoma will be the best defense he's played. It's on the road. It's his first real road start.
Right.
He's had. He's still a pup. Okay. And he's going on the road in a hostile environment and a defense that can really play.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Not saying I think Tennessee's going to win this game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, you look at the other side, Oklahoma. Oklahoma has really good defense, young, talented quarterback, offensive line wise versus the Tennessee defensive line. That's where the matchup is going to. I think they're going to have a tough time, and they haven't established a running game yet. I thought they did a really good job, probably not the best job that they've done so far this past week against Tulane.
Right. Tulane, yeah.
They had 180 and change rushing, but 47 of it came on one quarterback run. So they have to establish a run. This is not the defensive line that you want to try to be established and run on your first time. One thing that travels is defense. Defense travels. Defense don't care about the crowd noise because there is no crowd noise. So defense will travel. I think Tennessee's front 7 is as good as anybody in the leagues. And that's a matchup that they can win. So with that being said, at 58.5, I don't think Tennessee's scoring that many. They're not going over by themselves, and I think this is a game. I would probably take Tennessee to cover. That would be where I'm leaning on that. I've seen it at 7.5. The hook would scare the hell out of me with backdoor cover stuff written all over it, right? The hook would scare the mess out of me. 7's probably the one that is about right. Like, that's the one where I'm thinking about it but won't do it still. I do love 58.5, going under 58.5 in this game. You got Josh Heupel going back to Oklahoma. Look, I've coached in a bunch of these games. I've gone in, I'm from Alabama. I've coached against Alabama enough. I've coached against Auburn enough. I played there. For those that don't know, I've been to Troy when I played at Troy. I've been back to Arkansas State. I've been to all these games where you can say what you want to about, it's just another game. I call bullshit on that. It's going to be a little bit of emotion going in, and you're going to create anxiety. It's not a normal game. So with all that being said, I think this is probably a lower scoring game than what people think. I think in order for Oklahoma to win this game, they have to force turnovers on defense. They have to create short fields to work with. They can't just if Tennessee wins running away, Nico's just got to take – for Tennessee to win, Nico doesn't have to be Nico this week and try to win the game. Just don't lose the game, right? Like, just take care of the football, run the offense. And you saw a little bit in the North Carolina State game. He threw some that were he tried to do a little bit too much even in that game, and they were much better. You didn't have to. But in this game, you don't need to give Oklahoma any reason to be thinking upset this week.
Yeah, and Tyler, you covered everything. The only couple of things that I'm going to touch on is when you look at Brent Venables' defense, whenever Brent Venables' defense have had issues, it's because of tempo and pace. Because you and I both know he's one of the best signal stealers in the United States.
That's illegal too.
Man, everybody does.
Hunter Stallions nobody ever stole signal before, ever.
Connor was just better than everybody, bro.
Tyler, you just went down a slippery slope with this Rebel fan sitting in here, buddy, with your binoculars.
That's all rumor, Pettey. That's all rumor.
He's just better than everybody because we know that every staff had a few guys that have current jobs right now. The only reason why they have jobs is because they were the best signal stealers. By the second drive of the first quarter, they got all of them, and you're done, cooked.
I got death threats over that shit too. How about that?
Tyler,
all you guys that have binoculars sitting like this, looking at all those guys with the orange wristbands doing all that other stuff, and that one kid with his hat on backwards that you knew wasn't the signal guy that was doing all the dummy stuff. He's like, man, get him out of here.
Hey, you know what the worst was? The worst
Tyler,
was.
tell him one more time why it was so dumb for Ole Miss fans to even be pissed about this.
Because I was doing the same thing for them the year before. No, the worst thing is when you're that you want to go like, man, this guy's like, you're not even good at it. You always have the decoy, right? And it takes you like 3 seconds to figure out who the decoy guy is.
This guy.
The guy who's really calling plays.
Not sharp.
No, it's the guy who's really calling the plays. All you got to do is you look through the quarterback. When the quarterback turned his head,
you find that guy. That's it.
Would stop, and the other 97 guys were still signaling. I'm like, who are you signaling to? Ain't nobody watching your ass.
Nobody watching you. Tyler, here's a trick that I used to tell my guys all the time. I said, listen, follow the quarterback's head and look at the guy. The little GA that just showed up 2 days ago that learned the signals, I'm telling you, that little guy over there with the wristband, there's not a qualified coach that's trusting him to give the final play in a 2-minute drive to win the game.
And here's the other thing that you can even get a cheat code going into the game is whoever the OC is, find out who the GA is that works for quarterbacks. It's that guy every time. Every time, like, people, this is not hard. You go like,
no, it's not. Like, people are acting like this is some serious espionage shit. And y'all are telling me this is like the redneck sitting on the bucket at the Little League game could figure this shit out. And
yeah, like all kidding aside, like it's you look like I literally would look at the media guy and whoever the GA was that worked with the quarterbacks. 99.9% of the time, it's going to be him. And so in pregame, you just go to see what he's wearing. And then they try this. Then they try the sneaky, like I'm going to change the color of my shirt at halftime. I'm like, you didn't change your face, boss. You didn't change your face. Like,
I'm going to put my hat this way this time. I'm going to put it this way.
I mean, like.
Or they give you this one, Tyler. You're dead for this series. And then he goes with other idiots that's doing all that other stuff. Then the one guy that threw it, that serious. Oh, there he is, right there. That's him.
That lasted. They got one. That lasted until they got one delay a game, and then he was out of there. He got fired. They went back to the regular one. Yeah, it's petty. It's really not rocket science, dog. It's
no.
But man, fans act like y'all are like this whole Connor Stallions thing was this super espionage.
Well, no, he went a little extra.
He went too far.
Going sitting on the other side. Now, why did he go too far?
Well, you can't be going and watching other freaking people play and shit. That's like
that's
like, and if like I was joking, I'm not gonna say who. I had a buddy of mine that was with me at Alabama. Okay. I literally talked to him today, and we were talking about Connor Stallions came up, and he was like, you know what? He goes, I've stolen signals my whole life, every staff I've ever been on. He said, I don't think I've ever bought ticket. He goes, this guy's talking about buying tickets for people to go steal signals. He goes, I don't think I've ever bought tickets for like my mom to go to another game, like much less somebody going to like that was just like he went way.
There's going 65 and a 55, and there's going 155 and a 55.
Oh, yeah.
Here's another little nugget for guys that want to steal signals. When I worked in the NFL as a pro scout, I used to steal signals all the time. There's TV copy.
Get everything you
match
want.
Up the TV copy with all the signs and match up the play, and you have a guy to sit there and write them. Left arm goes up. That's formation to the field. This means duo. Like you start adding those up, and you put that puzzle together. Before the game, you say, "Hey, coach, here you go, defensive coordinator. When you see this is what they're running," and call that.
Hey, Pettey, you know what this is universal for?
What's that?
Roll out to the right. Not to the right. or they touch their boot, or they pull their pants down. It's naked.
Yeah. Naked boot.
Universal.
Well, it's ironic that we brought up Connor Stallions and cheating, because the next game we kind of want to talk about is a program that since Connor Stallions and Jim Harbaugh's left, I'm not sure. I think this ranking maybe it's still a little too high. USC, who looked really damn good in the opening week against LSU, quarterback looked good, receiving core, but Smoke was on our show that week prior to the game, really talking about how USC Lincoln Riley had retooled the defense, and that was going to be the difference in the game. Is USC about to go in and steamroll Michigan, or are we about to see that they are a fraud, or is Michigan kind of bounce back in the big house?
I think USC goes out there and beats them. The tough thing is to travel from west to east. I don't care how good you are. You're always going to have some type of stumble early on in the game, especially a 2:30 game. But, yeah, they should handle them. The three best hires, D-line coach Eric Henderson, Doug Belk, and DeAnt Lynn. That defense, the mentality, the attitude, the ass-kicking, knock back helmets. You see pullers, running backs get stuffed, knocked back in the hole. I haven't seen this much intensity on a USC defense since Pete Carroll. And the offense is going to be taken care of. It's like giving Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian a dynamite defensive coordinator. The rest of y'all in college football, get out the way, because that's what it is. It's easy when those guys have a coordinator they don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I think the CBS screwed Michigan here. I'd be trying to fight for that 11 a.m. Central kick instead of the 2:30 kick, because body clocks are still kids, right? And you give them a 2:30 kick, that for them that's a 12:30 kick, so they can do that. You go 11 a.m. Central Time kick, you're talking about those kids are used to that's in their body clock. They're having to eat pregame meal at 5 a.m., having to wake up at 4:30.
They're still yawning.
Yeah, so this is right up there. It's just right up a USC alley. I'm not high on Michigan. Haven't been since the summer. They got I'll give them credit for 5. It's really 4, but the running back did not start last year, so he's good enough to be a returning starter. You got to have dudes the way they play offense, okay? And they had the one of the, if not probably the best offensive line in college football last year. They were blowing dudes off the ball. They were physical on both sides of the ball. It's a different Michigan team. They don't have the dudes to play defense, play the scheme that they play on both sides of the ball. I think this is going to be very similar to the Texas game in the Big House. I think this is I think USC -6 is a lock of locks. I think they blow the doors off of Michigan in the Big House.
And Tyler, you know what a lot of people they're not giving Michigan credit for last year's team? they had a first-round starting quarterback. J.J. McCarthy don't get hurt, he starts. Blake Corum is a starting running back in the NFL. That offensive line is dynamite. The receivers should play. Whenever Michigan got in trouble, J.J. bailed them out. Go back and cut that Alabama tape on. When he rolled out to the left, one-handed like this, and whipped it out to Roman Wilson, yeah, I threw my hands up like, Bama, game over. But you had a real-life football-playing quarterback, starter in the NFL, with that run game, that defense by Jesse Minter, and had 8 dudes that you can roll with. The guys that are starting this year, they're backups, and they're going to be first rounders this year. So you got to think about that.
Yep. I think USC, I'm with you on USC. USC with the defense is dangerous. Miller Moss is really impressive. He impresses every single start he goes out. He gets better.
And no one's talking about Branch.
Branch is nobody.
Nobody.
Like,
they haven't even mentioned one of the sickest dudes out there, playmakers in college football. No one's
mentioned
him.
And I'll probably tell you what, they don't do it, and maybe it's just me, and maybe they just got other dudes. I would be force feeding that horse. I'm talking about he is elite of the elite of the elite with the ball in his hands, and he doesn't touch it enough.
You know when you force feed your horses when it's time to run, when you go on the road in hostile territory and you need plays. I promise Lincoln's gonna say, okay, you had a few weeks off. We're load managing. Okay, here goes a call for Branch. There you go. The whole call sheet all the way down because they don't have enough dudes out there to handle that.
They don't have anybody that can tackle him in space.
No, they have a guy that can cover him in space. That corner is real. He better be
real.
He's real. He's probably the best one in the country, but
he better be real.
It's going to be a game because Lincoln's going to scheme some stuff up to get that guy open. And Wink Martindale's defense, I love it because it can attack you from all types of ways on the field, from different angles, different blitzes. Miller Moss is going to have his stuff with him in terms of adjusting and understanding how to pick up that blitz package that Wink Martindale's going to bring, because Wink Martindale and a lot of what Deanne Lynn that they do is very similar because they all come from that Rex Ryan tree.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you though. I think USC with the defense and Dougie Fresh, Doug Belk's one of my dudes, loving to death. He was with us at Alabama and
superstar in the making.
And I think they roll.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I've locked it in. I've already put a bet in on the app down here. Hard Rocket, Florida. I actually do. I'm with y'all though. I think Michigan. I think this spread is trying to maybe scare people away from hopping all over USC because I think Michigan's a bit of a fraud right now. Before we get to we got a lot of Bama fans in the chat, and there's kind of a big game looming a week away. But before we get to that, and you might have some connections. You coached with one of the teams. I think the other may be a client of yours, so you may know a little thing or two about this game coming up. But is there any other games in the country that got your attention going on Saturday? I know we got an Auburn fan in the chat. You got some.
I'm watching the Auburn Arkansas game. Arkansas is they're better. I think Green gives them a chance to be successful on offense. He's not a great decision maker. He is an inaccurate passer, but you can't take him off the field because he's a threat to make the big play at any time. You kind of got to just live with the growing pains a little bit or whatever that is. I'm a big Petrino fan. I think he's one of the best.
I agree.
He's top 5 offensive mind of my generation. I've got a chance to visit with him a few times. The guy's a genius.
No,
right?
Look what he had handcuffs on him last year at A&M, and he's immediately taken Arkansas into a damn dangerous team with the Tylen Green, the Boise transfer.
Yeah, and defensively they've been better. Now they did not play well. They kind of sleptwalked through the first half of the UAB game. They got to find a way to win, right? So if you watch the Oklahoma State game, Oklahoma State didn't beat them as much as Arkansas beat themselves.
Somebody might have had that game at Arkansas plus 7.5 going into overtime and felt pretty damn good about it because it went to overtime.
Oh, yeah,
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you on that one.
That's all right. That sucks. I apologize there. That's terrible. But they should have won that game. They sleptwalked last week. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You can't put lipstick on a pig and tell me it's beautiful.
It's bacon. It's not beautiful. It's bacon.
Okay, bacon. All right. I'm from Anniston, Smoke. That's how we do. I'm from Anniston. But look, Hank Brown played better. It was a better decision maker. I feel like I'm the most qualified person behind the mic of that offense as I call plays in it. I understand it. What Peyton Thorne gave him zero chance to win big games. It wasn't just, decision making was not very good. Ball placement was terrible. I know it was driving Freeze crazy because he couldn't. You're throwing, he's throwing 50-50 balls 20 feet off target. That was a lot of that. Now you're going to ask, playing New Mexico is one thing. There's going to be a little talent discretion between New Mexico and Arkansas coming in. First SEC game. I like Arkansas to win this week. Probably even cover. I'm going to cover, but probably even win outright. I think they outscore Auburn. I don't know what that's going to be. It's going to be a rock fight, but I think if you ask me, all right, let me ask you a question. Whose offense do you believe more in, Arkansas or Auburn's?
Oh, Arkansas right now. Petrino's. I think he's got a better quarterback.
Okay. Yes, let's talk about defense. Whose defense you trust more right now?
I like my man Ill Will calling defense at Arkansas.
So if we like the offensive better and the defensive better, why is Auburn going to win the football game?
There you go.
That's where I'm at, right? That's just where I'm at. I get that it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium. If this game was played in a parking lot in Tupelo, Arkansas would win. And look, Freeze is really good. He's a great motivator. He finds a way to elevate his players in games like this. This is his jam. So I wouldn't be I'm not going to be like stunned if Auburn wins the game. Hell, Vegas thinks they're going to win, right? But if you just ask me on my honest opinion, and I got these nice little pictures up here, me wearing orange and blue. So it's different, right?
Blood somewhere. It's down deep, right?
Hey, Pettey, it's deep down there now. There's a little bitty morsel down there, and it's getting smaller every day. But way down there deep, if you cut me open, way down there deep, there's a little bit of orange and blue down there, just really little.
War Eagle.
He bleeds crimson. Don't let him lie to you.
I did love my time in Alabama, though. Yes, I did. And I had to learn. I grew up an Auburn fan. Nobody's perfect. Jesus did not make any perfect people, so I'm not perfect. But I did learn to say Roll Tide and enjoy it while I was there. So I was transitioned. But yeah, so that's. I really think that Arkansas is going to win this game outright. I think they can just outscore them. They're better on offense. I think it's an even game on defense, but I think they find a way to score more points.
Two things I'm going to address real quick. Chris Williams is on here saying, Tyler, you and I are talking crazy because Will Johnson, the corner at Michigan, said he can't cover. I would tell my man Chris to pay attention to the NFL draft in a few months, and I'm going to say he's going to be one of the 2 or 3 corners that come off that board in the first round. But here's a game that I'm interested in watching: Oklahoma State versus Utah, and that's Oklahoma State at home in Utah. If Cam Hand is back healthy, I think it'll be an interesting game.
Got to have Cam, right?
And if he's not playing, I don't know if it's that good because Coach Gundy finds a way to get his group going, and I think that's going to decide the Big 12 at the end of the day.
Well, he's got 2 broken fingers on his throwing hand.
Yeah,
Cam Rising does.
Yeah. Like these 2 fingers are broken on his throwing hand. It's 2 weeks ago. There's you can throw all the Toradol in the world you want with that thing, and you still got. You got to grip it. You got to grip it. I just don't think. I would have picked Utah 100 out of 100 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Utah is very pedestrian without Cam Rising.
Yeah,
and you're sitting here in a Big 12 that's very wide open, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What Kansas State did to Arizona at home. When Kansas State is at home, you better strap it up. When Texas Tech's at home, you better strap it up. They can't play away for whatever reason, but when they at the house, you better strap it up. You got Kansas, who's overly talented. Daniels did not playing great, but they got enough talent to beat you on any given day.
Right.
And let me tell you who we're not talking about. Nobody's talking about. Just remember, I brought it up. What's today's date? It's the 16th of September.
Marking it.
The Iowa State Cyclones.
Ooh. I'm talking about Rocco Beck. I love Rocco. That's my guy.
Well, it's just me and you. We're the only ones talking about it.
and Coach Campbell is a sleeping giant that is a dude at coaching. Kyle Whittingham and Coach Campbell are 2 of the better coaches that everyone always says, why don't you hire this guy? And that all those guys have done is Utah. I know he banged up Bama a few years ago. And whenever you turn around, he's winning.
Yeah, he coaches toughness, right? And like to me, that's what's missing with a lot of the portal heavy teams is culture and toughness. He does not care. His give a shit meter is broken. I hope can I cuss on this show, Pettey? I forgot to ask.
That's been wiped away for a long time.
All right,
you're good, brother. You're good. You're good. This is we're after hours, so we're
okay,
not.
I feel bad. I feel bad when I'm not on my own show.
You can even say. I think you can say weed on this one and not get us kicked off. I know that gets you off TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok right now. I'm good. But look, he said we're gonna do it my way, right? And he does toughness. He doesn't give a shit about your NIL money or any of that stuff. And there's a culture, there's a toughness to that. You look at why Memphis went down and did what they did to Florida State. Those kids, they got a culture. You can say what they want to say. You can like California when it went to Auburn, that was culture. You got tough kids that are getting coached the old school way, and you can take your NIL and stick up your ass, and we're gonna go beat you with culture. And and there's still games that can be won that way. Iowa State, that's the way they do it. Iowa's the way they do it. When was the last time you saw Iowa beat somebody in a recruiting battle? You know what I mean? Like, so you can still do it. Okay. Now you got to be up front. You got to go, but here's where it goes to. And this is what goes all the way back to the beginning of the show when Smoke brought this up. You got to pay the right guys. Okay. You got to get the right guys in your system. You can't just blindly go take Johnny 5-star. You got to go see if Johnny 5-star is about that life. Okay. Right. And you go back to the old days. Okay. When I was at Alabama, I remember very specifically when I went in there and I sat with Coach, I was like, Coach, look, this isn't just because a guy can play here. Like, not everybody. Alabama back then was not for everybody.
Still ain't.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not for everybody. Like, just because you're a 5-star doesn't mean you can fit here. You got to be about that life, and you got to know what you're getting into. So you better go get a fucking competitor, right? And because if you slow down and you go, hey, little Johnny, I know you're, please come here and come play. It's not about that. It's the best of the best. Iron sharpens iron, and you got to be a competitive dude. And I think that's the one thing that Coach Saban did that he doesn't get enough credit for. To me, the secret sauce with Coach Saban was he found a way to take 85 selfish prick superstars coming out of high school and make them play a team game.
Tyler, isn't that last time we checked? Isn't that the mark of a great coach?
That is the mark.
There you go.
Of a great coach.
Yeah.
Speaking of great coaches and greatness, man, we've got a big one coming up in 2 weeks. But before we get to that game, if you were heading to Tuscaloosa, Titletown, USA, for probably the biggest game in the country and one of the biggest in the SEC, don't forget to come empty-handed without that title towel. Go to whitwillsports.com today to get your title towel. So when you come to Tuscaloosa, you can let those Bulldogs know who #1 team is with your title towel. Go to whitwillsports.com, tell them the promo code STANDARD, and you will get a discount. So look, don't go empty-handed for when Bama takes on those mighty Georgia Bulldogs coming to town. And with that said, Tyler, you've got kind of got some ties here. Coached at Alabama, know a little bit about it. I think Georgia and Kirby is one of your clients. Man, we talk about great coaching, and look, I think Bama fans are kind of chomping at the bits after this last weekend when Georgia went up to Kroger Field and fought like hell to get out and had – look, man, let's be real. Georgia's offense looks like it's missing a beat or two right now. Maybe I'm crazy, but they also struggled with Missouri a few years back, and everybody thought, hey, it's time to get Georgia, and then they just went on a damn roll of kicking people's ass. Tyler, let's talk it.
Yeah, Georgia's played two what I call real opponents, right? They played Clemson and they played Kentucky, and they've played 6 quarters of very average as grits offense, right? And they're not executing at a high level. I don't think it's a talent problem. It's not executing. I mean, at the end of the day, haven't been executing on offense. Look, I'm going to say this, and I'll keep saying this. This is probably going to piss off a lot of Alabama fans on this Alabama show. Look, the biggest opponent that Georgia has on the schedule is the Clark County Sheriff's Department. Okay. and like, I'm not going to be the guy to pick against Georgia until they lose, until it's time to start picking against them. And I'm going to be right more than I'm going to be wrong. Okay. On that. And look, I think it's a very interesting matchup, right? So everybody, we live in this society where it's a week to week basis, right? Well, that's not reality. We talk about fans short for fantasy. That's not reality. They lost. They won a close game. They found a way to win, right? I mean, I remember when I was at Alabama, we went and played a shitty-ass Arkansas team. We won 14-13 too, right? And so that happens. It happens in the game, and they're still kids or whatever. I guess they're not kids anymore if you're paying them. I don't know how we classify them, but
they're still kids. I mean, if you gave a kid $100 million and put him in a candy store, he's still a kid in the candy.
Still a kid, right? So
professional kids.
Like defense travels. Remember we talked about defense travels, and Georgia has given me no indication that they're not an elite defense. I don't know if anybody else is going to argue with that. They're still an elite defense. Okay, yep. Offensively they have to execute. All right, let's go flip side with Alabama. Alabama had a lot of question marks for me coming into last week, and they did what they had to do. They went on the road and dominated Wisconsin, and they were going to beat Wisconsin regardless, right? But it wasn't just that they beat them. They physically dominated them in every aspect of the game. That was a good old-fashioned ass kicking is what that was. Now, you can sit here and being fair and being realistic. You know, Tyler Van Dyke getting hurt on the first drive probably contributed to that a little bit. You know, you got to change. That's not what you want to throw your quarterback. Hey, son, congratulations. No, you said you want to play. Here's Alabama for the rest of the game. Go enjoy it. You know, so, but, you know, defensively, I thought they looked really good. I think Kane's got them creating turnovers. I think he's got them playing more aggressive than they've been in the past. You know, they had a couple slip-ups against South Florida. Caught them peeking a couple times, as my famous Wesley McGriff saying, is eye violations a couple times.
Oh, God.
And got caught peeking a little bit. But look, Kane's really good at what he does. He'll have it's not going to be an overly complicated offense to prepare for from an Alabama standpoint. Offensively, all right. Offensively,
have you talked to Kane?
No, it's text. I haven't. I'll try not to mess with him. I'll probably call him this week. They're on bye week. I'll probably call him this week, but I try not to mess with people during the week. But long story short is, from an offensive standpoint, I think you see DeBoer and Sheridan trying to dial in what they can do with Milroe. I love what they do formationally and personnel wise, the different personnel groupings and all that stuff. But at some point in time, which I think it'll be coming here in 2 weeks, you got to we're wasting reps with him in the pocket. You got to leave him, let him be what he is. Okay. He's a great, phenomenal athlete. You can't ever take him off the field because he's a threat to take it to the house every single snap. But every time that he's in the pocket and tries to be a traditional quarterback, it doesn't work. The success rate of the plays have to be below 30%, you know, and you need to let him. You know, it's fine to start in the pocket, step up and move around, then start. And that's where he's dangerous, right? If I was Georgia, I would expect Georgia to try to keep him in the pocket and force him to be that guy. And I think that's where you saw him struggle a little bit last year, is teams that forced him to stay in the pocket. He's not going to beat you in the pocket. Jalen Milroe will not beat you in the pocket. But when his ass leaves that pocket, he ain't going to beat you. He will dominate you outside the pocket. You know, and so you cannot allow him, and Georgia's got the horses to do that. So can Georgia do that? From an offense, the other thing that I thought was really good is the offensive line looked like a real offensive line Saturday, first time. So for me, I think that's going to be the matchup. You got 2 weeks. The coaching is going to be great. It's going to be a game of all games. You know what I mean? That place will be juiced and rocking, ready to go. And, you know, you can say, you know, how we talked about, like, the games are different, right? And you can say what they want to. It's another game. Georgia knows who the last couple teams to beat them is. Okay. So there is some mortality in that a little bit, like some kryptonite in that a little bit. All right. And some natural anxiety that gets created by that when you play somebody that has beaten you before. And you look at all the way back to when I was at Alabama, Coach Saban was at Alabama during that run. You ever notice that it was always close games against certain teams? You know, Ole Miss beat them twice.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss games were always close.
Kryptonite.
Auburn game was always close because
Kryptonite.
Auburn hits a couple times.
Certain offenses.
Well, it's just you got the players get this anxiety of having like, hey, these guys can beat us.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
this happened before.
I've said this 100 times. The coolest thing about being in Alabama is, like, dude, it didn't matter. We play LSU. We beat shit out of LSU every year I was there. Those kids they're like, yeah, they're up on us. We'll beat them because we always do. And so the anxiety level comes down and you don't feel the pressure of the moment. I'll be interested to see how Georgia responds to the pressure of the moment in Bryant-Denny with that. And Alabama, same thing on the flip side. Alabama last time out beat them. So they got that confidence. So I think that's in Alabama's favor for that. But I'm not picking against Georgia until they show. I mean, guys, they haven't lost a regular season game since the China virus was out running amongst us. It's been a minute.
Siskey, you hit on a ton of good stuff, man. But being a Bama alum, and I'm an honest person, at what point are we all going to say that Alabama is not as physical as we all want them to be up front?
I think I would have 100. I thought there were steps in the right direction this past week.
I say it to say this: I see too much leakage on ball carriers, and I don't see that same knockback controlling offensive lineman in what you guys did at Bama. Restart that line of scrimmage and reestablish that line of scrimmage as you want to with Alabama's defense.
I think you see a lot of that all kidding aside. I think you see a lot of that with, well, first of all, offensive wise, I think you see it because it's so much damn zone being run now, right? It's hard. It's the further the game gets away from gap scheme, going downhill and busting people in the mouth, the game's getting played laterally with, and duo tries to bring it back a little bit. Yeah. And then they're too high, right? They don't know how to draw off. From a defensive standpoint, I agree with you there. And I think I think Kane's done a good job adjusting and bringing guys instead of just letting the up front. You're used to the up front four guys just three down jack, just reestablish the line of scrimmage. Right. He's now using backers to reestablish run blitzes and stuff like that. You have to do that for whatever reason. But hey, they're not the only ones, though. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's across the United States.
Across the game.
Georgia's doing it. Georgia is establishing that, knocking guys back. They're playing that physical style. Again, Bama's defense versus Mike Bobo's offense. I wish my guy Bobo had a little bit more creativity to how he calls the plays. It's a lot more vanilla than we've seen over the last few years, and that's going to give Bama a chance. But man, the best team right now is still Georgia. If you line both teams up, yeah. If you told me that they were going to play 7 games from now, yeah, it might be different. But if you look at the first 3 games and what team has looked better, Kentucky is what it is. But Georgia has looked better, top to bottom, than Alabama right now on all phases of the game.
The hard part where you stretch – go ahead, Pettey.
No, the only thing I would add, because I can't add – I'm going to sound like a dumbass after you two guys talk.
No, you won't.
But the one thing I haven't seen with Alabama is they were very reliant on the big play. Sustained drives with 4 or 5 yard runs or when you need a run to keep working the clock or just keep a drive going. It seems like Bama's been more big play, and that works against the Wisconsins and the USFs of the world. You can hit those big plays over and over, but when you play teams like Georgia, you're going to have to sustain drives. But on the flip side, that works for Georgia too. I haven't seen it as much out of them this year. I think it's going to be what comes down to what offense can actually get something going against the defense in that.
I would actually give Alabama a better chance to do that than Georgia's. Here's the thing about Georgia, and I'm trying not to jump to conclusions. We're not going to see them again until they roll out Bryant Denny, right? But for 6 quarters, they've been anemic on offense. They had 65 yards of offense against Kentucky at halftime the other day. Okay, I love Stoops. I think they're great. But, dude, I don't give a shit who you're playing. 65 yards of offense ain't going to get it done.
It's one of them days, Siskey. We all had it.
Hey, but with all that being said, that second half in the Clemson, that second half, you're like, oh, that's what they can be. But with all that being, all that being said, I think that from a matchup standpoint, I think you take I don't think Georgia has the receivers to really hurt Alabama's secondary, which is probably the weakest link right now. And not that they're not talented, they're just young.
Right.
And then to your point, Pettey, about, Milroe's a product of that, right? In that he's always looking for the big play. And you want him to run the offense. And you're sitting there and you're like, he's got guys running right ass open across his face. And he waits. He wants to hit the big play every time. And hey, it is what it is. But, like I was saying earlier, is like, just got to stop wasting snaps with him, trying to make him a pocket passer. I mean, I'm talking about what they're doing with him in the running game is beautiful.
Yep.
But it needs to be that along with the passing game. Let's move the pocket, whatever we got to do. Get him on the move where he's dangerous, because once he leaves the pocket, the reason he becomes such an effective passer is the second he gets off of his protection point, which for the fans that don't know is 7.5 yards behind the center. Once he leaves that spot, guys, they got eyes on there. They're not going to play. You're not going to see a ton of man coverage against Alabama, because you don't want the eyes going the other way. They have to stay in zone, and you're wasting your time robbing the guy. You're wasting your time. Now Georgia may not. Georgia may have somebody that can play him a little bit, but most teams are wasting their time playing one robber or one spy, whatever it is, because they got to stay in zone. And as soon as you start to move, those guys are coming up. That's where he's hitting the plays, right? That's where he's making his plays on the move, because they have to play the run. And so that's what I was saying earlier is I think Georgia's key to success in this game, if they win the game. If you told me right now Georgia beats Alabama, I tell you immediately day one that they kept him inside the pocket.
Right. And that's how we heard him last year in the SEC championship. He got out of the pocket, created off-schedule plays, and extended drives. If they, like you said, Siskey, if they keep him in the pocket, Georgia got 2 defensive ends that can hunt.
Yeah, and they do. They got dudes. I mean,
you better move that launch point and make sure that they have to find him, because if they know where he's at, hanging out back there, they got a secret key. They know how to get through that door.
It's kind of funny. Is like, you got like a new staff against new. You don't have this Nick Kirby thing going, but you really do. People don't realize it is that Trey Scott, that's the defensive line coach at Georgia. He worked with us with Kane and all those guys that all the way back to Arkansas State days.
Wow. Okay.
Well, everybody knows everybody still, even though it's just different. They're on different staffs.
And everybody got that same book that they're upset at Connor Stallions that everybody keeps those little secrets. And as soon as they do it, go get that thing out the vault and everybody brings it back. Hey. Signals. How did you defend 2x2? How did you defend 2x1?
It's funny. It's funny how those books showed up every week, everywhere I was at. You know what I mean? I never kept.
Go get that book for me. Oh yeah.
I never. Fun fact: I never kept a book like that ever. And that was like every single week there'd be some GA bring me a book. I'd be like, "Where the hell did you get this from?" and that shit's overrated though, Petty. Because I can tell you this: I knew every snap of every play. I knew every single play that Ohio State was running in the Sugar Bowl, and they ran through our ass like shit through a tunnel.
And you knew what was coming.
Really, everybody knew what was coming. We were
still got to stop it.
Counter.
You said Zeke doing this and them having 15 draft picks on that team.
Bro, I remember one time I was like, they're throwing to Mike Thomas on a 12-yard dig over here on third and 7. They friggin' Zeke.
So why did it not translate? I know Justin's going to kill me, but this is too good. Why did that not translate?
I don't know. You beat the hell out of me. It shit's hey, say it again, Spoke.
Dude, Taylor Decker.
And we had dudes too. Yeah. That's why I said that.
It's not like Bama was lacking dudes.
All kidding aside, that game, what hurt us the most is Reggie Ragland went out early with a concussion. And Reggie was a dog of dogs. I love me some Reggie.
I hope Reggie heard that. We had Reggie on live at the Bryant Museum.
That's my dude.
And man, Reggie is about as deep as a dude. Man, I love Reggie to death. And you talk about, man, he's the real damn deal.
Dude, he was the dog of dogs. I'm talking about he would hit your ass and make you like it.
Hey Siskey, how about this? That year we brought in. You know how they usually do 30 visits in the NFL?
Yeah.
So we did a whole Ohio State 30 visits, and we had 15 guys. I think it was 15 guys there from that Ohio State team. From guys don't remember Eli Apple, Darren Lee, Adolphus Washington, Taylor Decker, Thomas was on that team.
Yeah, Mike Thomas
was on that. Zeke was on that team. 12 Gauge on that team. Cardell Jones. Yeah, 12 Gauge was remember he's a quarterback that came in.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it, you're like, why were they good? Because first round, second round, first round, third round, first round, second. That team was loaded. Urban did an excellent job. So if you weren't on your job that day, and again, there wasn't no NIL neither now.
No, never.
Guys, no. That was all on the up and up.
Hey, look, they all came to Alabama for the love of the A on the chest, baby.
Had nothing to do with Dodge Chargers. All right, with that said, I think, man, Tyler, I have your ass way longer than I planned on. I think we were going to do 45, and we went an hour and a half.
Oh, you're good, bro.
Dude, it was awesome. However, you did drop one nugget. Justin's going to kill me. One last question before we tell you about the rest of our shows for the week and let you tell us where you're going to be. But you kind of dropped a nugget that Saban wasn't sold on Derrick Henry. You had to convince him on Derrick Henry.
No, I didn't. It wasn't. I don't know who convinced. I kept. So for me, as a reminder, in like we would print like eval packets, right? Mm-hmm. And so we'd go to that every.
Hey, Tyler, can I stop you 1 second?
Absolutely.
Before we even talk about his evaluation packet. Tyler Siskey saved me hundreds of hours with that logo on his hat.
That's right, baby.
Quick U.
That system is amazing. That's general manager, University of Maryland. We sat there for 25 minutes, and I was sold. I was like, listen, I know you know a lot of people I know. I'm buying the system, and anybody that wants it, tell them to call me. Go ahead and go ahead and finish your story, Tyler.
That's gold.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the shameless plug right there. Smoke gonna be my name.
That's the truth.
I got I kept eval sheets, throughout the years of like reminding myself, like, and it was really as a reminder to me, because like every evaluator has a bad day, right? And I had a rule of 3, right? I still have a rule of 3. And so my rule of 3 is this: if 3 people tell me I'm being an asshole, I'm probably being an asshole. All right. But if one person tells me I'm being an asshole and 2 are like, I don't know, then I got a question. Why am I being an asshole? Right. So for me, I printed right before I left. I took all the evaluations that were like really good players that coach wasn't just sold on. And just to remind me that the best that ever did it, I don't give a shit who everybody brings up. He is the best that ever did it. Has bad days every once in a while and misevaluates every once in a while. But, that's just why I did that. And so it reminded me that, like, look, you got to make sure you got to trust your evaluations, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you're going to have a bad day and make sure you always you listen to other people, because he did. To his credit, everybody. That's one thing that. Another thing is Coach didn't want, contrary to popular belief, Coach, the last thing that Coach wanted was a yes man. He wanted. Now he's going to have the final say. There is no question about it. But he, and you may even get barked at when you come up with an idea or something. But that didn't mean to stop bringing ideas or bringing your thoughts. He was really good. It may be his idea tomorrow, even though we thought of it. But hey, it was. But I love Coach, man, and I could never repay the man for what he did for me in my career. I learned so much from the guy. And any coach that says the opposite is just being a dumbass, because he's literally has elevated every human being he's ever been in contact with.
Damn.
And I know Coach has helped your life. You put so many hours of sleep in mine by your one-stop shop system of being able to print out those evals, practice dates, notes, being able to take live evals while I'm watching the film, set up my board, set up the 25 board, the 26 board. And I think people don't understand how amazing that is, to be able to set up 3 recruiting boards with just one touch of a button.
Look at them. Look, Smoke's trying to work. Smoke's trying to smoke. What you? You got any extra time, Smoke?
This is the you didn't know we were really just trying to get a job interview, and that's all I get with quick.
Siskey, I told you from the beginning. Once I went on there, if there's a Division 1A program that does not use Quick Use system for one-stop shop of evaluating notes, coach's note, call log, compliance information, videotape editing, having the good, bad, and ugly tape, that you guys create that takes countless hours out from young graduate assistants, or just like you guys called it, sweatshop workers, to do that, because you have credible guys that understand exactly what you want, what everybody wants, because everybody wants a Nick Saban system. And basically what you created is a system that's built a 17-year train that ran through college football like nobody has ever seen it before.
It's been good, man. we got a lot of stuff coming too. Like we got some good shit coming too. We've been we keep adding to it. And it's kind of, you've been with it, but it's one of those things. It's like cell phone technology, right? You got to always be adapting, always be making it better. We were talking
about your updates, man. Keep pushing your updates out.
Yeah, we got roster management coming. We got some AI stuff coming. So salary caps, salary cap information. We got some AI stuff. I don't know if I can say this now. I think I got an NDA, but I got some AI stuff coming with the portal stuff, and it's a portal roster management type deal for all general managers, especially it'll be like you'll like this. It's password protected because not everybody needs to know how much everybody's making. Right. So it's for the GMs. It's going to be really good to be able to know what money's coming in and what money's going out. And then there's going to be an AI component to it that's coming with that to basically put roster values on players.
Another addition of helping all the general managers go home to go hang out with their family.
That's the whole point, right? It's like, and Pettey, you didn't know this, but like it's basically it's basically to make you save time, right? And time, two things. Time is money, but it helps you be more efficient in your job. It helps you make better evaluations because you're more organized and more on page and communicate. And the secret to recruiting, in my opinion, and obviously Smoke's done it for a long time, is communication amongst the staff. Communication, making sure everybody's on the same page. And those kind of things. I wonder where I got that from, being organized and being on point. But
bro, if you're not organized and like I said, Quick U makes you organized because you can't say, hey man, I didn't get that eval. You're lying. Check your email. I sent it to you. You just didn't do it.
It's there.
It's there.
We're going to click the last bit of this section with Smoke and use that so you can use this as a sales pitch.
No, I got Smoke don't even know it. He's he's going on payroll. He's going to be his face is going to be out blasted to all the universities tomorrow.
He's your PR. He's your advertiser in your face.
Bro, listen, you're not paying me nothing. I'm just telling you straight facts. And I said that to you about a week after. I told you a month after when I saw you at the symposium in Nashville. I said that, and anybody walked up to me, I was like, "Do you want this other system?" I was like, "Nah, I don't want nothing to do with all that. I can plan a trip. I can plan the recruiting weekend. I can plan those game day sheets.
Yep.
And the most important sheets that you wanted was those eval and those face sheets for coach when he walked around and looked at everybody, and when you sat in that meeting and you went through all of the guys that were showing up on game day, because if you got one wrong, the whole world came apart. As long as I had the picture with the name and all the info in there, man, we good. That saved me years of sitting there with a Microsoft Excel sheet going through it and making sure all the stuff added up. But shout out to you.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Not only are you making coaches more efficient, you're eliminating ass rippings.
Saving ass ripping. Look.
No, head coaching ass ripping. Saving
ass ripping.
Hey, coach ain't the only person that's ever ripped the ass for now.
Well, man, again, Tyler, I cannot thank you enough. I know we kept you for this, but I couldn't stop the conversation. When the conversation's this good, I'm not very good at stopping it or not letting it roll. But man, it's been phenomenal having you on again. We can't thank you enough for coming on. Hopefully, we can grab you again at some point because, man, your conversations with you are just phenomenal on the show. And again, with Smoke, I can sit there and listen to you guys talk ball all damn day with your knowledge. But with that said, this is the Bama Standard. This was the opening kick, meaning we're just kicking off the weekend. We got a huge slate of shows coming up. Tomorrow at 6 Central, the flagship show, the Bama Standard. You're going to have Tim Keenan on as a special guest. You are not going to want to miss that. Current Alabama star Tim Keenan going to be on with my boy Smoke. Man, Justin running the 1s and 2s. I think Stephen M. Smith, Marvin Constant, all SEC linebacker, bringing his damn passion and keeping.
He'll be doing reps at 225.
He'll be flexing and doing all that shit like he does all show. But you're not going to want to miss the Bama Standard tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central. Tim Keenan again, special guest.
And you're forgetting my man, the superstar of the show, Steve Funny Man Brown.
Comedian Steve Brown there to keep everybody off kilter and interrupt everybody with his famous ass jokes. Then an hour after that ends at 8 Central, you can catch my other show, The Final Whistle. I'll be on with Matt, Chris, Lushawn, Dan James, Ty Hayes in the gang. And then on Wednesday, you got the Crimson Dynasty at 6:30 Central, followed by Teague's Take. George Teague breaking down game film. If you're not watching that show, you are missing the hell out, because you are getting seriously some of the best football insights you can get from one of the greatest minds to ever play defensive back. And then Saturday, well, no, there is no Saturday. We're in off week, so no post game. So Sunday night talking Bama at 7, I think it's 8 Central with JT and the boys. Don't want to miss out on that. Yeah, kicking them back. And then next week on this show, Monday, we will have former Georgia offensive lineman and NFL star George Foster coming to talk Bama, Georgia with us. Smoke's going to keep him on his toes next week. So, hey, man, we got a jam-packed week going into a big Georgia-Bama game. With that said, I'm Daniel Pettey. You can catch me here with my man Smoke on Monday nights at 7, tomorrow night at 8 Central. And I'm going to let Smoke tell his stuff. And then Siskey, tell us where all we can find you, because these guys, if they're not watching Siskey and McCready, you are missing one of the best shows on the fucking planet.
Get them, Siskey. Tell them where they can find you, my guy.
McCready and Siskey. It's available on the MPW Digital Network, wherever you do podcasts. You got to look up MPW Digital wherever you're doing the podcast, or you can go to YouTube, to the MPW Digital YouTube channel. We are live there Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central. And on Mondays, we have Mac 10 Monday, AJ McCarron. So I know there's a lot of people here, obviously some Alabama fans. AJ joins us every Monday, and he is a hoot. He is
Lord. He doesn't hold back shit.
I feel bad because I think he's doing it because that's like him and I having a conversation. So it's kind of like me and him back in the day, and he cut loose. He had a good take on Paul Feinbaum today. That was fun. But he's on Mondays. We have the Tuesdays we preview the next week, and Thursday we make our picks, and we get after it. And it's kind of we just have fun, man. It's like coaches drinking beer at the convention. It's unscripted, and it goes off the rails pretty quick. So if language is not your thing, I may or may not. I apologize in advance. Sometimes I get fired up and drop a couple of F-bombs. I apologize in advance. Just don't turn it on in front of your kids.
No, it's absolutely my favorite sports show outside of the one I'm on, of course.
Appreciate you, man.
Smoke, where can we find you, my man?
Siskey, I don't even feel like following you, man. You can follow me on X and Instagram, Coach GV Dixon, man. Lock in with me. I got content, posting all that good stuff, man. When I'm not on here, Siskey, I hope I can come hang out with you and clock in a quick you.
Oh, yeah, you're hired. Hired.
Guys, you can find me at Lee County where legends are made. Is that at the massage parlor where the legends are made there?
Wow. We
man,
really
let that man be.
Wow. It's you made it this whole time.
I almost made it a whole show, Tyler. I'm sorry.
Leave him alone, man. Sometimes you got to see
Chris is my boy. Me and Chris, we've got a good rapport on this show. He knows I'm giving him a hard time. Oh, Tyler's going to throw one at me for that one, though. Dude, Neil does it to you all the damn time.
I don't care. I really don't. I just play fun. I could give two shits. I didn't do anything. I'm good.
No, it's all me.
I'm a three-time world champ.
I'm the merman bad guy.
Yeah, I'm a three-time world champ, though.
There you go.
Three-time world champ, two-time world champ. Smoke, how many time world champ?
Man, I ain't never won it. I'm just trying to hang out with you guys.
How many kids you got?
Man, I have 3.
You were a three-time world champion.
And here's the crazy thing. I'm the 3-time world champion. I did it the same time, 7 years apart. Both of my girls, December 7th. So I shoot really, really accurate.
In March.
7 years apart, December 7th. And my son, December 3rd. You talk about Steph, come talk to me.
Hey, it's funny. What happens after signing day is over with, man?
March Madness, my guy.
Hey, yeah, you fired up for the tournament.
March Madness.
He skips the Sweet 16 and goes right at that Final Four.
Yeah, cut nets down, bro.
I like it. I like it.
Guys, been a hell of a show. Till next time, man. With those, we'll see you next week on the opening kick. Again, Tyler, thank you so much.
Bet.
Smoke, see you soon. Till next time.
That's the bottom line. Why? Because Stone Cold said so.